I'm sorry. I just fell out of my chair when I read the latest news about Donald Trump's lawsuit against CBS News and 60 Minutes because of the interview that 60 Minutes did during the campaign with Kamala Harris. Why did I fall out of my chair? Because I was laughing so hard that I literally fell out of my chair. Why? Well, in response to the motion to dismiss that was filed by CBS in federal court in Texas, Donald Trump's lawyers filed the following. Their response in opposition to the motion to dismiss alleged that Donald Trump, as a, quote, content creator, okay, just, because being president of the United States, we all know that's a fallacy. So Donald Trump's status as a, quote, content creator was damaged by attention given to the interview that was done by 60 Minutes with Kamala Harris. And this is the part that really made me laugh my ass off. Donald Trump suffered, quote, mental anguish due to CBS News' editing of the 60 Minutes interview that was done. Now, remember, we've always talked on the Katie Phang news channel about the lawyers for Trump and how they sell their soul to the devil when they represent such a POS. Well, Trump's lawyer, letting it all hang out there, put his bar license and his name on a filing that alleges this, quote, this led to widespread confusion and mental anguish of consumers, including plaintiffs, that being Donald Trump, regarding a household name of the legacy media apparently deceptively distorting its broadcasts and then resisting attempts to clear the public record. So in other words, Donald Trump and the other plaintiffs sustained mental anguish, as well as consumers, public consumers, people watching that interview, because 60 Minutes as legacy media was deceptively distorting its broadcasts. Because they were misled, voters withheld attention from Trump and his Truth Social platform. Trump as a media icon, quote unquote, that was the definition or the description given by his lawyers, by the way. It's not like anybody agrees with that. Trump was, quote, forced to redirect significant time, money, and effort to correcting the public record. Last I checked, Trump allegedly won the 2024 presidential election. Bro needs to move the fuck on, because the way that he hangs on what he perceives as being slights or things that happened during the campaign, and the way that Kamala Harris lives rent-free in this man's brain, I think it's a case study for narcissistic personalities as well as some type of psychosis. But why is this important? Well, obviously, because there's this lawsuit that's pending against CBS News, and we've been reading media reports about Paramount, the parent company. So Paramount's up here is the parent company, and below it is a company that is CBS News. And Paramount, as the parent company, is in negotiations with Donald Trump to be able to settle his lawsuit that was brought in federal court in Texas. And it's a $20 billion lawsuit that's been brought by Donald Trump. $20 billion. And you've heard the allegations, all of which are bullshit. But here's the thing. According to media reports, and this is the Wall Street Journal, Paramount Global in recent days has offered $15 million to settle. However, Trump's team wants more than $25 million and is also seeking an apology from CBS News. So let's just stop for a second. Let me give you some inside baseball as a lawyer. So Trump sues for $20 billion. Trump could have sued for $100 billion. He could have sued for $1. But when it comes to settlement, each side can settle to the extent that they want, but they have to reach an agreement, right? That's the settlement. It's a difference between a judge ruling on the merits of the case or a jury reaching a verdict on the merits of the case. In my opinion, $25 million is way off of $20 billion, but that's neither here nor there. But the fact that Paramount Global has offered to settle with a penny is wild. And in just a few minutes, I'll get into a little bit of some strategy as to why you settle, even if you have a good case. But here's the other thing. Apparently, Trump's team has also threatened another lawsuit against CBS related to its, quote, alleged bias of its news coverage. And apparently, they went to a, quote, tentative mediation session that was yesterday. But because of all of this drama, there have been some really high-level exits and very noteworthy that you have probably noticed have happened. One, CBS News CEO Wendy McMahon said, "Peace out," because I'm not going to have CBS News apologize for they did nothing wrong. So why is that going to be a bone of contention to settle? And two, we also know that the longtime executive producer of 60 Minutes, that he said, "I'm not staying here either because there's just way too much involvement and editorial control and pressure from the higher ups over how we're going to run 60 Minutes." But I wanted to bring this also to your attention because we're all paying attention to this because of the fact that Disney settled a defamation lawsuit in December of 2024 to the tune of $15 million made payable to Trump's presidential foundation or his museum. And they agreed to pay $1 million in legal fees to Trump's lawyers. And remember, that was because Trump sued ABC News, George Stephanopoulos. And again, Disney's the parent company and below is a subsidiary company, ABC News. And we were all disgusted when Disney decided to settle that in December of 2024. In January of this year, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's platform, agreed to pay $25 million to settle a 2021 lawsuit from Trump after Meta suspended Trump's accounts following the January 6th insurrection. In February, X, I still call it Twitter, agreed to pay about $10 million to settle a similar lawsuit. And now we hear that there are settlement talks between Paramount and Trump. Now, the other thing I wanted to kind of go over with you guys is the following. CBS News, in its response to the lawsuit that was filed by Donald Trump, has made it clear that it did nothing wrong. CBS News has said that not only does this violate the First Amendment, and thus it's an unconstitutional attempt to infringe on the free right to speech, but that this broadcast was commercial speech. It was not commercial speech. It was news programming. It was news programming. It was newsworthy. And so it's afforded protections by the First Amendment. And the network has also said, CBS has also said, that the 60 Minutes, the edits, they were not deceptive. In fact, the entirety of the Kamala Harris response to the question that was posed to her, half of it, the first part was shown on Face the Nation in the preview, and the second was actually aired during the show's broadcast. So if CBS or 60 Minutes was trying to hide something, wouldn't they actually edit shit out versus playing the entirety? The fact that it was played in part here and in part there doesn't mean that it was edited deceptively, because I don't know, when you put the two together, you get the whole. But anyway, the reason why that's important is right now, portions of CBS's fighting back is actually being used against Paramount. And again, we'll get into that in just a second. But let's talk about forum. Let's talk about where this lawsuit is pending, because that's also relevant to not only whether this case settles, but why it might be at a position to settle, although the biggest reason is because of a pending merger with Paramount and another company. But let's talk about where it is. The case is currently in federal district court in Texas. And who is one of my favorite federal judges that I love to talk about that is such a... Anyway, his name is Matt Kaczmarek. He's a federal judge, and all he does is rule in Trump's favor, really. And it's crazy because the forum shopping that happens is so egregious. Everybody who is a Trump supporting pro-Trump litigation, they want to be in front of this judge. He's in this random small area, and he's like the only federal judge, and people want to bring their lawsuits there. So what did CBS do? Well, CBS basically said, this case should not be in Texas. This case should actually be in another jurisdiction. It should be in New York. And so you know what Donald Trump did? He amended his lawsuit and he added Representative Ronnie Jackson. Remember the White House physician? You know, Ronnie Jackson? Well, he was named as a plaintiff in the lawsuit. And the reason why is he wanted to be able to see if the court would agree that jurisdiction would be in Texas versus in somewhere else. So the gamesmanship is very big, but really the fact that it's in front of Kaczmarek, look, CBS may be thinking, even though it's fighting this lawsuit, and Paramount, I guess, is really thinking, maybe we need to settle this lawsuit. And the reason why is because Kaczmarek is going to play favorites with Trump, put his thumb on the scale, and so we're going to get adverse rulings, and so maybe it makes sense that before we get totally nailed, that we get out. Oh, but wait, there's more, right, folks? And this is what it is. The Freedom of the Press Foundation is a shareholder of Paramount. So Paramount, as a company, it's a public company, right? It has shareholders. And the Freedom of the Press Foundation has informed Paramount Global executives that if Paramount settles with Trump over this bullshit lawsuit against CBS, that it's going to file a lawsuit. And it's going to be a derivative lawsuit. And so I want you guys to check out the Freedom of the Press Foundation letter that was sent. But it makes it really clear. Shareholders of a company can sue. It's a derivative lawsuit, meaning the shareholders, they sue the company of which they are a shareholder when its executives or its directors do something wrong or they do something improper. In this instance, if the executives and the directors and the officers of Paramount Global decide to settle a bullshit lawsuit, the derivative lawsuit that's going to be brought by the shareholders, including the Freedom of the Press Foundation, is going to be big. And it's going to be big because they are worried not only about the precedent that it's setting, especially as the Freedom of the Press Foundation, but they're also saying, look, this is a bullshit lawsuit. You shouldn't be settling this. And we certainly shouldn't be paying Donald Trump money for a bullshit lawsuit. And then here's where it complicates things even more for Paramount Global. On May 19th of this year, Senator Warren, Senator Bernie Sanders, and Senator Ron Wyden sent this fantastic letter to Sherry Redstone, who is the chair of Paramount Global, and she's the one who's been pushing the settlement in this case. And they say, we write to express serious concern regarding the possibility that Paramount Global may be engaging in, quote, improper conduct involving the Trump administration in exchange for approval of its mega merger with Skydance Media. Paramount appears to be trying to settle a lawsuit that it has assessed as, quote, completely without merit, end quote, and moderating the content of its programs in order to obtain approval of this merger. Under the federal bribery statute, it is illegal to corruptly give anything of value to public officials to influence an official act. If Paramount officials make these concessions in a quid pro quo arrangement to influence President Trump or other administration officials, they may be breaking the law. And then the letter goes on to basically say, I want you to answer these questions, Paramount Global. There's 9 of them, and they're on page 3 of this 4-page letter. And you have to answer these questions by June 2nd. And one of the questions is, has Paramount evaluated the risk of shareholder derivative litigation from settling the lawsuit? Remember, we talked about a derivative lawsuit that's being brought by the shareholders if they settle. And another question I thought was relevant for you guys, specifically, have Paramount officials discussed settling the lawsuit or making other concessions with President Trump or Trump administration officials in the context of the merger approval? I mean, Senator Warren, Senator Wyden, and Senator Bernie Sanders, they're not mincing words here. It is a quid pro quo that Paramount is seeking. Hey, Donald, if we settle our lawsuit with you, even if you've brought a bullshit lawsuit, your administration will greenlight, approve, stamp, whatever you want to call it, our mega merger with Skydance. And it's a big merger, guys. It's a lot of effing money. Look, it's gross how transactional this is starting to stink. Transactional quid pro quo is a Donald Trump on-brand specialty. We've seen quid pro quo running the gamut from, I don't know, Zelensky. Remember the perfect call with Zelensky? I mean, it is the pardon pipeline we've talked about on the Katie Phang News channel. I mean, this is some serious stuff here. Because this is a destruction, the wholesale destruction of the Fourth Estate, the independence of the media. When you have the capitulation and the bending the knee of major news sources out of fear of extortion, threats, bribery, this is not the way that we're supposed to have our media be, which is why independent media is so important. We have no corporate overlords in independent media. I don't have somebody telling me that I cannot say these things to you the way that I am telling you. And it's not just my delivery, it's the truth. I am reading to you and I am giving you the information so that you have the knowledge, because knowledge is power, as I always say. We're going to watch this lawsuit carefully. Again, I fell out of my chair laughing my ass off. This idea that Donald Trump has sustained some version of emotional distress or because of the editing that was not deceptive by 60 Minutes. I mean, please, you know what? Don't insult the intelligence of the American people. We know you live in a state of emotional torture, Donald Trump, because number one, you're a convicted felon. Number two, you are the taco toddler. And number three, I guess I could just keep on going, right? You're just a big effing baby. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability. I'll see you on the other side. Katie Phang here. The truth matters now more than ever. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.